Welcome everyone to this perspective drawing tutorial. In this video we are going to create this drawing of a Japanese storefront in 2 points perspective. How's it going everyone? I hope you're all doing good. Now before we begin I want to mention my Patreon page. There you will find many perspective drawing tutorials like this one, along with realistic drawing tutorials as well. I also have a collection of study documents and process papers which are essentially tutorials on paper, so if you enjoy my content and want to learn more, then do consider having a look. There's a link in the description. So let's begin by placing the horizon line across the centre of the page. Remember, the horizon line is our eye level. I have a whole series on perspective drawing, so watch some of those videos if you want an in-depth explanation. Now here I am going to be drawing in 2 points perspective, which means there'll be 2 vanishing points at either side, and in this example they are off the page. The right one is only slightly off, but the left one is further out, so it means that I have to estimate the direction of my lines as I draw, and I'm going to start by constructing 2 simple boxes. A large box to the left here, and a smaller box that will be to the right hand side of it. And if you have watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that as I draw these boxes, I draw all of their lines so that you can see through it, creating what could be referred to as a wireframe. Also, you can see by looking at the convergence of these lines how that left vanishing point is further away whilst the right vanishing point is closer. It can be tricky to aim your lines to a vanishing point that you cannot see, but just remember the vanishing points must exist on the horizon line, and try to look at existing lines in your drawing before you add a new one so that you can make a better judgment. You know, if your line is below the horizon line, then it's going to be aiming upwards. If it's below, it's going to be aiming downwards. The closer the lines are to the horizon line, the more they will level out. Again, if these principles are confusing, do consider watching the perspective drawing series. Now that I have these boxes drawn out, I'm going to add a pitched roof to them. To do this, I find the centre point of the box by drawing a set of diagonal lines from corner to corner, and where these cross is where I will draw a vertical centre line and extend this up from the box to a height that I am happy with for my pitched roof. I then repeat this at the back as well. From the top of the extended line, I take a line back to the right vanishing point and it meets the line at the back. This will be the ridge line for my pitched roof, and to finish blocking this in, I take a line from each corner of the box to the top of this vertical line, creating a triangle on both sides. Now I'm going to add a pitched roof onto this smaller box as well, except this one is going to be rotated around, but do not worry because I do it the same way. I divide up either end of this box and draw a vertical centre line which extends up to establish the height of the pitched roof. I then take a line from the top of this back to that left vanishing point this time, and then I take a line from each corner to the top of this to form 2 triangles, and I finish blocking in these roofs. So hopefully you was able to follow along with that. It tends to look more complex when you see all of these construction lines, but as you may have realised, it's fairly straightforward. Anyways, now that I have my building blocked out like so, I'm going to start developing this, adding the necessary windows, doors and more. So I'm going to start by drawing the door here, and this door will be pushed into the front of the building. So first I start with a simple line across at the front here, which establishes the height of this door. Then I will add a vertical line at the side, and if I was going to have this door directly on this front face, I would just add another vertical line next to this and that would be it. But like I said, this doorway is going to be pushed into the building, therefore I need to take a line from the bottom here to that right vanishing point, and the length of this will determine how far this doorway is pushed in. At the end of this, I add another vertical line which meets the top of the door. I also add a line at the bottom corner here for the bottom of the door, before then drawing in the line for the other side. I now have a doorway which is set back a little bit. Above this doorway I'm going to draw out a rectangle which will be the sign for this shop. Above this there will be 2 windows, and so here I add a line across the top of the building which will be the top of these windows. And I'll also add a line lower down for the bottom of these windows. I then add some vertical lines for the sides of the windows, and again, you can follow along with me here, or you can create your own version of this. You don't have to have these be exactly like mine if you don't want to. Now that I have these two windows outlined on the front, I'm going to wrap the top and bottom lines of these around to the side here by taking some lines at the point where they meet the edge of the building back to that right vanishing point. This means the window I will outline at the side will be the same height. Now, I wasn't sure whether I wanted my windows here to be as long as this, so I added another set of lines a bit higher up on them, but I'll decide on how I want them when it comes to adding more detail. And so now I have my doors and windows outlined on this larger section, but now I need to do the same on the smaller section. Here I'm going to start by drawing out a rectangle on the front here, but I'm not going to take this all the way up to the edge. Instead, I'll end this here, and at the bottom corner I draw a line out from this, which again is aimed towards that right vanishing point. I extend this out to a length that I am happy with, and at the end of it I draw a shorter vertical line. I then join the top of this line to the top corner of that long rectangle. Also, before I go any further, as a general rule, just remember that all of my lines except the vertical lines here will be converging to the left or right vanishing point because we are drawing in 2 points perspective. Anyways, from the front at the bottom of that shorter line, I draw a line back to the other side of the building. I join this up with an angled line again, and I try to match the angle of that line at the other side. Also, if you haven't realised already, I'm drawing out an awning at the front of this shop. So once I have this blocked out, I can add the door, and like I did with the door on the other building, I'm going to have this set back a little. Now, for some reason, I don't draw in a window to the left of the door yet. I'll leave that until later, probably because I couldn't decide how I wanted it. But anyways, I'm going to work on the top of this roof because whilst we have a pitched roof blocked out, I still need to add some thickness to this, and I also want my roof to overhang. So to do this, I offset a line to the further side of the roof, and this will be how much the roof hangs over the building. Now I need to do the same on the other side, and because of how we are viewing this building right now, we won't see the underside of the overhang here, we will just see it hanging over slightly. Now I'm going to offset another line from this to give it some thickness, and this of course will raise the height of my roof slightly, meaning that I have to draw in another line for the ridge of this roof. Now, just to make things more complicated, I'm going to repeat what I just did and create an overhanging roof on this already overhanging roof, and I do this the same way. I extend some lines at the furthest side and bring these down to the other side. I then offset some lines to add some thickness to this and build onto this first roof that I added. So now we have this roof drawn out, and I like how this is coming along. So now I'm going to begin adding a few more additional details. For example, at the top of these windows, I outline a long overhanging section, and again, a lot of these features are taken from various reference images that I find online. Japanese buildings have a distinct style to them, and so I'm trying to be mindful of that as I develop the drawing. Here I am adding a frame around this window. Again, feel free to make this your own, you don't have to have your drawing look exactly like mine. I'm going to add some detail to this other window as well, and I'm always less reliant on the ruler once I've blocked out the drawing and established its position in perspective. I try to work into it all freehand just because I think that it can give it more character. Next to this window, I will add a small box which extrudes out, and this will be a ventilation unit. You see these quite often outside of buildings like this. Below these windows where I had drawn those additional lines, I'm going to add what's more like a fence on the front of a building rather than a balcony, and I am improvising a little bit as I add all of these details here. Over at the side of the building, I draw in a drainage pipe, and then I start to outline this rectangle at the front, which is the sign for the shop that I am drawing. I'm not going to add any detail to that just yet, because here I add a frame around that door, and at the front of this building I'm going to draw out a small rectangular box, and you can use a ruler to do this if you want to, but I'm just going to freehand it. This here will be 2 more ventilation units, and these will be in front of a window that I will draw out at the right side of this doorway. I'm going to add a shutter on this window and some smaller details around it. So here I'm going to add some depth to this window at the side of the building. Again, similar to the door on the front, I'm going to have this window pushed back, and so to show this, I need to add some thickness to the wall at the side of it. I could have added some of these details as I was blocking out the drawing with a ruler, but as I said, a lot of the time I'm just improvising and making these decisions as I draw. Now it's time to add some detail to this smaller section, and I'll start by working on the roof here. This roof is going to overhang the building as well, but I'm not going to add much thickness to this. Instead, you'll mostly see how it overhangs at the end there, and to the front here I'll show some thickness, but I'm not going to have this be like the other one. I have a gutter pipe and a drainage pipe drawn out, and I start to develop this awning for the shop, working over this block out that I had constructed previously. I decided to add a roof light in the top corner here, and unfortunately my camera cut off as I was drawing that window to the left of this building. Hopefully you can look at that and draw something similar though. Here I'm just adding some detail to it, drawing some wooden slats over it. I still need to draw in the door frames here, but at this stage I'm mostly done outlining the drawing, and I'm just adding some additional details on top of this. I add some lines on the roof, and then I start to add some detail to the shop sign at the front, and this involves me drawing out some Japanese text. I had placed the word drawing into Google Translate, and this is what it gave me, so I went with that. I'm going to spend some time here just working over these outlines and defining them all more clearly, and if you've watched some of my previous tutorials, you will know that I tend to render my drawings in pencil at the end, and so as always I will place that stage in a time lapse for you and let that play out. But before I go, I want to say that if you have followed along with this tutorial and created your own drawing, then be sure to send me your results. I always love to see people learning from these videos and creating artwork. Also, I will be creating many more of these videos, so if you haven't subscribed already, then be sure to do that. If you enjoyed this, then please leave a like, and with all that being said, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. If you enjoyed the content I create, then do consider becoming a patron on Patreon. You will gain access to exclusive tutorials, study documents, process papers, real-time drawing footage and more. Plus you will also be supporting me in a more personal way. Other than that, thank you for watching this video and I'll see you soon.